Welcome back to TarHeelIllustrated.com. I am Bryant Balcom here with publisher Andrew Jones. We are here with another daily drop, this time regarding UNC basketball, particularly the Tar Heels uniforms. This past season, they wore 4 different combinations. Their traditional home, traditional road, home throwback, and for the first time ever, their road throwback uniforms. And we want to see just what we think UNC could improve, what they should add or stay away from when it comes to uniforms. They have had some bad luck in the past, in particular looks, but also what you guys could potentially want to see from UNC. But AJ, when it comes to UNC uniforms, they have some of the best colors in college sports and some uniforms that are heralded across the country. What do you think UNC should add to their uniforms, or do you think they should stay away from moving forward?
Well, one thing I'll say is that their colors are great for them, but they don't work for a lot of other teams. If you ever see other teams wear light blue,
happens a lot in baseball.
They don't look right. So what now?
Happens a lot in college baseball.
It does, but it's happening more in basketball. Marquette's got a light blue uniform that looks ugly. Villanova has one as well. Villanova and Creighton have light blue uniforms. They look ugly.
Oh, man.
I don't like it. I in Carolina, there's something about Carolina that they're the only ones that wear. The Kansas City Royals look pretty good. I will say that. The Kansas City Royals look pretty smooth when they wear the light blue. They look a lot like Carolina baseball. But the Tar Heels, they make it work in both sports, in all sports really. But in basketball, it's iconic. The uniform is iconic. I remember, I may have told you this story before, when I was standing on the baseline at Gonzaga back in December of 2019. Carolina played at Gonzaga, and it was a bad Carolina team. And I was standing next to a local TV reporter in Spokane, and we were talking a little about the Tar Heels and stuff. And he's just watching them, and some of the players, a lot of them wore like sweatpants. They don't wear sweatpants as much now, but you could see the shorts, and some had their shorts off. And one of the players, may have been Armando or somebody, took his warm-up top off and was like doing something with it. And he said to me, he says, just to see that and hear is unbelievable. So fast forward to last November, Kansas. Remember some of the people that were talking about seeing that uniform? Remember when they went out there, all the people taking pictures of the uniforms? When Carolina was warming up, there were so many people in that end of the court at Lawrence Fieldhouse that at Fall Gallon Fieldhouse, Lawrence, Kansas. They were taking pictures of Carolina. And a fan stopped me. Must know who all the Kansas writers are. You may have been right next to me. And I know I told you about it. I told you in the press room. He said, it's worth it just to see that uniform in this building. So Carolina's road uniform to me is totally iconic. The home uniform is, but road uniform is more so because it pops. Mm-hmm. So that's them wearing the road uniform they've worn for years. Then we go to New York City, and I notice, they're wearing the old roads. They hadn't worn those before. I wasn't sure. And this was when they played UCLA in Madison Square Garden. So I go find Steve Kirshner. SID, I looked for him, couldn't find him. I texted him, and I'm telling the Daily Tar Heel kids, I think it's the first time they've ever worn these. I'm a uniform freak. Mm-hmm. So when I see uniforms, like I love the fact the Yankees got rid of that white outline a long time ago in New York on the road uniforms. Get rid of it. Doesn't belong there. So I see this. I text Steve. I said, is this the first time you guys have worn the road throwbacks? And he said, I think so. That's a great question. Let me look it up. And yeah, that is. And they ended up wearing it at State. They wore it at Duke. They wore it in the ACC tournament against Duke as well, I think. And they wore throwback homes. They've worn that throwback home some. The first time they went back to it was, I think, the 05 season. They did it once, 04, 05. They wore the old throwback homes with the foot on the side. And then they went, and for a while they worn like the Charlie Scott era home. But this year they really went hard on I'll call it the Phil Ford uniform, the Mike O'Koren uniform, the Jeff Lebo uniform, if you will. They went pretty strong on that. Hubert wore that for 3 to 4 years. Hubert's senior year was when they switched to the Argyle a little bit, and the more look that we see now. And Hubert probably just loves it because it's 3 out of 4 years, and his uncle wore it. So I love that. To me, it pops. I like both road uniforms. I prefer the newer home uniform over the older one. That's just what I like. And we'll talk about some things we don't like, but I'm curious what you think as a younger guy. seeing the throwbacks, because I remember seeing the throwbacks all the time. What did you think when you saw the throwbacks?
I really enjoyed it. And I know I did not, like, I was not alive when those were initially worn. So it maybe just was my first time seeing a uniform in my reaction to it. But also it made you feel like, even if you're just watching up as a media member, that you're watching, like, just you're getting a different piece of UNC basketball. And I thought it was a simpler look than their typical road and typical home uniforms. But it was a look that, I mean, it stands out and it looks good. But it was a different look, even if it was simple and something, I mean, I enjoyed seeing. But for me, one of the looks that I guess grew up on was the similar to what they have now, but it was the more arching letters with the North Carolina, like, underneath and over the top, but also had like a hint of navy blue around the numbers, or the name and the numbers, but also down the trim on the shorts and the jersey. That probably would have been like somewhere around the 05-ish season, give or take. That era of those uniforms are the ones that I associate the most with UNC basketball. That's also more along the lines of when I would have been watching UNC the most or growing up.
Bigger lettering too.
Yep.
And they need to go back to bigger letters. I agree. The arching, they had that one where it was, I think the first title team, 57, it was like North Carolina. Minnesota had the same thing when they have Minnesota Gophers. They wore that this past year. There's a photo that's been circulated lately about with Dawson Garcia for a while, and he was in that Minnesota Golden Gophers or whatever. That was sort of a style. Wisconsin has something like that. Nebraska has something like that. I don't know if I would want that. North Carolina and almost like a circle. I think some of the other throwbacks would be kind of cool to check out, but I'm also a guy that's not huge. Like, I hate when football does throwbacks. Mm-hmm. You only play 12 games. You can't get tired of a uniform in 12 games. And I'm not so sure in basketball I'm a huge fan ultimately of it. Just have the uniform, and that's the uniform. But Carolinas are so beautiful. Mm. You can't go wrong with either road uniform. It's beautiful. I have seen been around people that just, like, their jaws drop when they take it off. Other great programs on the road, there's something probably similar, just to see the lettering across the chest. I love to look at the name of a school in the uniform. That's why I despise when teams wear uniforms on the road that has their nickname. It should always have their school name. Don't have Panthers, have Pittsburgh or Pitt. Although I do like the P logo jersey, the uniform they wear. That's kind of cool looking, actually. It's one of the few like that I like. But I think Carolina at home should probably wear the same thing most of the time. On the road, though, when they pulled those out at Cameron, you're thinking of MJ at Cameron. You're thinking, when they put it at State, you're thinking of Dudley Bradley with the steal and gets the win. You're thinking of J.R. Reed, man. And you're thinking of Hubert his first 3 years. Hubert's Final Four team that lost to Kansas was the last team to wear that before it became a throwback. And that was the game when Dean got thrown out in the Final Four against. That was Roy's third year against Roy. That was his third year at Kansas. And then Roy lost to Duke on Monday night, which was Coach K's first title. So what I don't think they should do is ever wear the black again. And there are a lot of people that love black uniforms, but I had a conversation with Mac Brown before his first game. When he first came back, he had different people in the media come into his office just to talk for a while about how we cover the team and stuff like that. And he was showing me some things in his office. And I asked him, I said, so what are your thoughts about uniforms? Because Larry Fedora uniforms for a while were brutal.
Yeah,
Larry's uniforms were like he had like a second grade class design them or something.
Yes, I agree.
And Max said, you will never see black in our uniforms. Black is not the school color. You'll never see black in the uniforms. And I said, but people think it helps recruiting. And he's right. He said, well, then Southern Miss would be great. And they're not. So I'm not a fan of the black. They've worn it twice in basketball. They wore it both times in the CBS Sports Classic. They beat UCLA in the game where Roy benched Bryce Johnson. And Bryce had that cussing spree, flailing his arms, going back to the bench. Roy benched him. Bryce came back in like 8 minutes later and dominated. And that was the that was the rocket launch for Bryce that year. And then, of course, a few years ago, they got completely humiliated by Kentucky and Las Vegas. Those were, I just think they're ugly. It's not Carolina. There's nothing unique about it. So don't ever wear them again.
And some other ones that I think they should stay away from. I believe it was when Harrison Barnes was there, one of 2 years. I'm not sure. The gray uniforms.
That was Tyler Zeller's senior night.
Not those can stay. Those can not be worn again. And I think most UNT fans would be okay with that.
That was a Nike thing, though, Bryant. That was a Nike thing. That was one of those Nike creations, which I don't like. You know, they had a little bit of the camouflage for the aircraft carrier game. I guess I get that, but
yeah, that one I understand, and at least it's visually appealing. But one thing that I'm interested in, because the women's team does this, and I'm not sure, and you would know better than I am if they've ever done it, or at least it's been a while, is navy blue uniforms. It's different. It's not quite black. It's still technically the school's color, so it's not going super off script. I know the women's team, they wear navy uniforms, and I think it'd be something I'd be interested in seeing UNC either like wear for the first time or bring back. Just to, I want to see what it looks like inside the Dean Dome. And it may be something that I'll see once and I never want to see again. But I've seen it on the women's team, and I think it could be something that at least worth a shot as far as trying out new uniforms that are not specific throwbacks go.
But do it at home.
Yes.
Don't do it on the road. On the road, you got to be who you are. People pay to come see you, be who you are. So I'm with you on that. If they're going to do it at home. My dad lettered in 2 sports at Carolina. He played lacrosse and soccer, and he's still a rabid Carolina fan. I have to pull. I talk about pulling people from the ledge. I got to pull my dad from the ledge all the time because he's a crazy Carolina fan in a good way. I've seen his letter sweater. It's navy blue. The letter jackets are navy blue. That is the school color. So if you're going to go navy, they did it some with football. And Mac went there some with football.
They one year against Duke, I remember specifically, not to get on it.
Well, the first time they wore navy blue in football in forever, if they did do it back at Choo. There's a couple photos of Choo Choo in an all navy uniform, but it was the game at Rutgers on a Thursday night in football when Butch was there. I covered the game, and I remember this is back when a lot of media traveled. There must have been like 10 or 12 writers that covered North Carolina in the press box at Rutgers. This was 08, and they come out and they're wearing the navy pants, and like everyone is making phone calls. Carolina's wearing navy tonight. It was like a big deal. The Rutgers people were like, what's wrong with these people? They're wearing, because they always wore Carolina blue and white. So they broke out the navy, and we saw a lot of navy after that. I think a navy uniform would be cool for at home. Maybe do it for like an exhibition game to kind of spruce it up a little bit. Maybe not a real game, and then sell it. Sell them right there.
People would absolutely buy it.
Uniform. How about something like this? You want to raise money? You want to give NIL money for players? Play an exhibition game at 2:00 on a Sunday afternoon. Have them wear navy uniforms, and afterward, kids go down. Parents will buy the jerseys, and the players have white markers. They sign their name on the blue jersey, and they sign the name on the pants. Maybe not what that they wore, but maybe extras, and give them and sell them to people. Make some money that way, and they get some NIL cash. And it would be kind of a neat way to promote stuff and to get people into an exhibition game.
And you could say you were there and were the first one they wore it, or it could be you'd be the start of something that they wear more frequently in the future. I think it's
only do it at home.
Yep. I agree. Only at home. That's only something that they can do at home or should.
I would say nothing else. Nothing else. Notre Dame. I don't like when they put something on their helmet. Don't need to. If I tune into a Yankees game and they're at home and they're wearing dark jerseys, and they're not wearing the regular pinstripes, I'm gonna vomit. I hate the Yankees. I'm an Orioles fan, but the Yankees are supposed to look like the Yankees. The Dodgers are supposed to look like the Dodgers. The Cowboys have screwed around with their uniform. Their pants used to be really dark gray a long time ago. Go back and look at old Roger Staubach photos. They're when Grant Hill's dad was playing for them, their pants were really dark gray. So they've changed over time, but the Yankees shouldn't. And I don't think Carolina basketball needs to. I think the lettering should be bigger. And I like the Argyle. I think the Argyle is unique. I know
It's
it's preppy
definitely
and stuff like
something
that,
they need
but
to.
I like it.
Unless they do throwbacks, then you have the Argyle incorporated in some way, and
Yeah,
especially
it's the same style. Yeah.
yep, yep.
But I really liked how Hubert pulled out the road blues this year. That pop.
I think it was also in the. I mean, he did it in one of the most historic venues in all of basketball, which makes it even cooler.
There's a photo we have of Ian Jackson in that uniform that I've used a couple of times. It looked perfect. I mean, he's gone now, but it looked perfect on him. It just looked. It's beautiful. It's breathtaking. So I'm all for that. We'll do Navy blue. We can do Navy blue at home, but nothing else.
Two really good choices for home uniforms, and then two throwbacks. And again, we mentioned debuting the road throwback this year at Madison Square Garden. Also wore it at NC State, at Duke, and I'm sure some other times I can't think off the top of my head. But if UNC were to, go ahead.
I want to throw one more thing at you because I'm going to make the podcast 10 times longer than it's supposed to be. Should they also wear light blue at home once a year for like a non-conference game? This year, like Elon comes in or something like that. No, Elon last year. Or this year, Radford comes in. So they wear light blue at home against Radford, or wear white? Because they wore,
why not? Especially
blue against Cal Riverside a couple years ago because Riverside had ordered new uniforms and their road uniforms weren't ready, so they had to wear white on the road until January. So Carolina had to wear the light blue at home.
I remember that specifically because that was there's a Seth Trimble dunk in like the intro video in the montage that actually came from that game. So I see it every single home game. Yeah, I said they should absolutely do that. And not that it's a big deal, but for some fans, like, we travel to some of the away games and you're at all the away games. They may never get to see them wear those uniforms in person. It might be just like something that's once a year, a non-conference game against a non-Power 5 opponent. They absolutely should. I think it's worth at least doing once a year. And if it's once a year, it's once a year. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a treat.
Yeah.
Make it a little bit more interesting. Build it. Hey, it's a blue out. It's a blue out for Radford.
Especially if you're playing an opponent who, no offense, is inferior. It makes it a little interesting. It spices things up a little bit.
Radford
makes it fun. Makes it another reason to come and cheer for
Absolutely.
UNC. So.
Hey man, we got a lot out of this one. We got more out of this one than I thought we would. Good stuff.
And let us know what we missed or what you think UNC should add or stay away from. If you don't like the black uniform just like we do, let us know. Because last time they lost by 30, I believe. But let us know what you want us to add.
Down by more than that. That was the Manic year. That was the first year. Yeah. They were down like 42 or something that game, weren't they? 40?
Probably close to it.
Carolina fans were leaving.
Let us know what
not like the
think.
black. I went and talked to somebody in the stands while they were warming up. And they're like, I can't believe I came all the way out to Las Vegas to see a play and they're not going to wear our uniforms. They're wearing somebody else's uniform. That's what the guy said.
I mean, that's a fair response.
Yeah.
But let us know what you think UNC should stay away from in terms of colors or uniforms, what you think they should add or bring back. We want to hear from you guys and what you want to see next time you're in the Dean Dome when it comes to watching UNC basketball. But for this time, I'm Bryant. He's AJ, and we'll see you guys later at Tar Heel Illustrated.